Maronnero Carmen, aiutici tu.
Napoli are champions again. Antonio Conte proves he is the master at winning Serie A.
And benvenuti, fellas and bellas all over the world. Welcome to another episode of the Napoli Rant. I am Raff and my co-host, Raffa Rispo.
What's up, Raff Bizzarro? Come stai oggi?
Well, oggi I am fantastico because I am here recording with you. Finally, I know it's been a minute, but I am here recording with you and the rest of the fellas and bellas around the world. Our episode celebrating Napoli's fourth Scudetto, second in ADL history and tenure. Here we are. Forza Napoli. What a season, Rafa. What a season it has been. Literally everything coming down to the final match. Not only for Napoli, but for a lot of teams. But either way, I mean, nail-biting to the very last half of this season, Rafa. How does it feel?
To say the very least, it feels amazing. I'm pretty shocked to actually sit here and say that the Raff N Raff rant with Raff Bizzarro and Raffa Rispo, the Napoli rant, has produced 2 Scudetti.
Yes.
So has the Shadow of Vesuvio. And let's not forget our boy Joe. And Napoli Podcast Rising and Napoli Talk. The Napoli Podcast / social media revolution has produced 2 Scudetti. I, for the record, want to say I never want anybody to criticize ADL again when it comes to on the pitch and the way the club is structured and run.
Comunque possiamo lanciare un messaggio da qui, da questa conferenza stampa, che faremo di tutto per riportare a Napoli lo scudetto.
But when it comes to making up for poor decisions and learning from them and getting the job done, making amends, making it right, there's nobody better in the business. I heard, and this is with all due respect to Matteo Bonetti on Culturecast, but he mentioned how he feels that, Atalanta is one of the best run teams in all of Europe, because look at where they came from and look at where they are now. And I can respect them being up there, but there's not a chance in hell that they are better than this at Napoli, because Napoli came from literally dust and have risen from the volcanic ashes of Vesuvio to become more Scudetto winners than Lazio and Roma.
Yes.
Officially the boss of the South. And honestly, more to come, perhaps. I mean, look at what without getting too far into what we'll be covering all summer. Look at what ADL is doing now to get even better for next season. So I don't really know if it's even allowed to talk down on il presidente, il nostro presidente, and I applaud him and Manna and Conte and the lads and Ralph Biz. I was there.
I saw it. Oh, and big shout out to everybody who went.
Yeah.
And what I mean, I can't even, Rafa, I would need the whole show to name all these people. And just so you know, I saw everything. I was so happy. I know so many people are asking where I was. Believe me, I would have done anything.
Dude, you were the topic of discussion. Everybody.
Oh my God. Guys,
everybody was like, this ain't a party. This ain't a party without Biz. You know?
Listen, I am so humbled by that. I am so grateful for those thoughts. I love you guys. I'm so happy you were there. I was there with you. Let me tell you.
You were
I
missed
was
for
there with
sure.
you.
You were missed for sure.
No worry. Hopefully, this is many more to come. We've all have established such a great relationship, and there's many more to come because Napoli's here to stay. Rafa, this is welcome to the new horse in this race now. I think even Daniel Bowen said it to me. I was talking to him on WhatsApp. He's like, Napoli's now the fourth horse, and
this is the dawning of a new era. It really is. It really is.
So shout out to him and everybody.
Yeah. Shout out to Dan Bowen, who also couldn't make it, but respect to him all season long for supporting us too, Ralph. Respect to the Shadow of Subio guys and Joe and Dom and like I mentioned them before, for definitely holding it down. Respect to all the clubs out there for all their meets and everything that they've done. It's
been
just
great. It's been great.
It really has been great. And
getting all the attention. I mean, I'm so happy for all you guys out there. You know who you are.
Yeah.
It's great to see the growth within the community on that level as well. And we're all a part of it now, and it's great. Yeah.
Yes. Big thank you to CBS. Big thank you to
Serie A
North America. Big thank you to everybody involved. Everybody. It's just been. This has been a season like it's funny because
Rafa, can we missed one? We missed the name.
Go ahead.
Missed one name because you said CBS in particular to Marco Messina.
Marco
in particular,
Messina.
That man right there who has. I'm so happy this guy gained his validation.
Dude,
he called this from the jump off.
Ball.
He's an expert. That immediately puts Napoli into the position to talk about them for Scudetto favorites.
Really?
Immediately. They're up there with Inter.
Are you what?
Marco Messina, if you're listening, ball. I mean, right away he said Inter could get to the Champions League final, and what happened? They did. Right away he said Napoli's going to contend with Inter for the Scudetto. It's going to come down to the very last day, and it's exactly what happened. He is Mr. Ball 2025. He is.
Congratulations, Marco.
Yes, Marco. Thank you. A Juventino having our back all season long. That's just something else, man. All the times he texts me with these like worried texts. What are we doing? What's happening? And it was like he was a Napoli fan with us this year, and I really respect that. I do.
He's a gentleman and a scholar and a professional. So kudos to you, Marco. Thank you for everything. But Rafa, we won the Scudetto, man. We won the Scudetto.
Say it again. What are we?
What are we?
Campioni d'Italia.
Campioni d'Italia? Scudetto winners? Again. Love the new logo with the 4 and again. Man. Good job, whoever did that one.
Those shirts sold out faster than you would believe. Like they were gone in seconds. They were gone in seconds.
Faster than a great Schwoyadella.
Bro, seriously. And it was hot like one.
It was hot like one. Yeah. Definitely got to get mine soon enough. But but considering all this, Rafa, like what and considering what happened last season, and I want to preface this with the fact that a couple times in the previous episode, especially these last few episodes, Rafa, you said that it was that downfall last season that we experienced that quite possibly led to this moment. But I want to know from you, like at like a game by game basis, what did it take?
Ralph, I mean, it took a lot. It took a lot of things to come together. It took a lot of things to fall apart. And then for them to come together in order to get this Scudetto won. It was not just one thing. I mean, I know later on we're going to pick one thing. Like if we had to pick one thing, what would it be? But I think right now the appropriate answer for where we're at in our discussion is it took a plethora. There you go. I love that word, plethora.
A plethora.
It took a plethora.
Jefe, what is a plethora? Why, Wapo?
Well, you told me I have a plethora. And I just would like to know if you know what a plethora is. I would not like to think that a person would tell someone he has a plethora and find out that that person has no idea what it means to have a plethora.
Of things to happen. It took a falling out with Osimhen. It took us ignoring a renewal for Kvara. It took Spalletti leaving and us getting the worst choice out there in Rudy Garcia. It took 3 coaches. It took missing Europe. It took hiring Conte. It took signing Lukaku. It took leaving Osimhen out. It took everything, all of the above. It took the humbling of ADL. It took the support of the fans all season long, because not for nothing, Ralph, last season was an abomination, but what we did right away was fix it, and we got the fans back on our side as soon as we dropped them. As soon as we seemingly dropped off the face of the earth, we got the fans back in. They bought the season tickets. Anima e Core, Amma Fatica, Conte, Buongiorno,
It was it
free
was really like a
transfers.
it was really like a let's get back to work kind of
It
attitude,
was
right?
very much so. And no nonsense. No, we're not going to travel overseas for friendlies. No, we're not going to this. No, we're not going to pay too much attention to Coppa Italia. We're not going to worry about everybody else in their schedule. Like, it took
To getting on
blood,
business.
sweat, tears. It took injuries in training sessions. It took the bench. I mean, look at what we did. The best defense in all 5 leagues, in top 5 leagues in Europe. We were the best defense, and Buongiorno didn't even play. I think he might have just played half a season this season.
Mm, right?
Our number one, our first player signing was Alessandro Buongiorno to finally replace Kim Min Jae in that big pivotal center back role we needed to pair with Rachmani. And he didn't even play half the season. It was Juan Jesus and Rachmani. Oliveira going down. It's Spinazzola playing back there. Then Spinazzola playing up front when we had no Kvara. Then it was just Spinazzola has become the Elmas of this team
Yo, for
from 2 years
real.
ago.
For real.
Let's think about that. When we
And
say Elmas,
I
for
don't
those who might not get that reference,
yeah.
he's the
Swiss Army
Jolly
knife.
of the team, right? Where he played anywhere.
And that's not something easy for me to accept, Rafa. You don't just come in and replace my son. And
Yeah, I know. That's your son.
But he did it.
Raff
He did it,
Bizzarro.
and I'm appreciative of it.
That's your boy.
5% Macedonian in me,
Dude, it took so much. It took Medet being Medet from 2 years ago. It took Di Lorenzo. Oh, we didn't even talk about how Di Lorenzo was this close to Juventus last season.
Yeah.
And decided, you know what? I'm going to stay. I'm going to apologize, and I'm going to get to work. And he was massive. Rachmani, what did he miss? Like 10 minutes all season?
Yeah.
I mean,
Played on set, that guy.
Lobotka, the general in that midfield. Anguissa, swinging his you-know-what all over the place.
Best season ever.
Best season ever. Conte said, I want you to have this many goals, and he got those many goals. McFreaking-Tomine, Scott McFratame, coming from a Manchester United that is in such disarray and has become the light of this team.
And the
Lukaku,
MVP of the league.
the MVP of the league. Lukaku, a player who nobody had faith in at all. Oh, he's old. Oh, he's slow. Oh, he's this. And myself included. But, us calcisti, like, we know what Lukaku and Conte could do together. But still, the rest of the world was like, you let go of Osimhen for Lukaku? Yeah, fat chance, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It took us losing 3-0 in Verona to start the freaking season, Ralph. We
Yeah,
lost 3. We went from that crap of 23-24 to starting the season in a 3-0 defeat in Verona.
that was tough to swallow.
And we only lost 3 games after that. Like, do you realize, can you really put into words and like thought what we did this season? What we did. We're one of the lowest point scoring Scudetto teams ever. However, we've only lost 4 games all season, and we did better than everyone else. That's all that matters.
Yep.
You know, I love how people say, "Oh, this is the worst Scudetto team." But go scratch your ass. It's one of the best, if you ask me.
It's still a
Because of the
Scudetto
way,
winning team. I mean,
dude, because it doesn't matter how many points we won it by. Juventus won, you know, with the most points ever with 100 and fucking however many that was. 5. I don't remember how many it was. But you know what? It doesn't really matter because it's just one more Scudetto on their trophy cabinet, and that Scudetto is worth just as much as this one is.
right.
The Scudetto we won in 23 with 90 points, 16 points ahead of Lazio, and 20 points ahead of everybody else, is worth the same value as this one that we just barely won by the skin of our teeth. Did we get lucky with Inter dropping the points they did? Sure, of course we did. But you know what? It's about goddamn time we get a little bit of that luck, Ralph.
Sure.
Because it's always against us all the time.
Rafa, I questioned our luck running out at some point, and it almost seemed like it didn't. it seemed like as if the luck kept going, and even with that like disaster in March.
I mean, you said it literally. Surely our luck's going to run out somewhere here.
Yeah. I mean, I was honestly, you know, I bet Napoli beginning of the season. I had just as much faith in them taking the season. I listened to Marco. He inspired me. I was like, you know what? They can do it. They're going to bounce back. This is what Napoli can do. But, you know, towards the later half of the season, when we're getting into March, we're dropping points left and right. We had an opportunity to really climb over Inter and secure things much earlier. It literally comes down to the final whistle. You know, them holding on just shows so much resiliency, and we're going to get into the beast of the season, and we'll talk about this person and how much of a part of that he was. But, you know, overall, I think what it took for me, Rafa, it starts with something very small that happened last season, in fact, Rafa. And it started with ADL apologizing and taking the blame. Now, there's probably some people out there who might argue that it wasn't sincere, and he was just saying that to, you know, kind of dust it off and saying that for the betterment of the team. But I think there was something in ADL that he blamed himself for some of it, because as much as I support the guy, I really do think that disaster started with him. It started with him and his ego, and he broke relationships, and it led to where to the results we saw last season. And he knew, because once he tasted that success, Rafa, I'm sure like now he's thirsty for it a lot more.
Yeah.
And I think he knew he couldn't do that again. He couldn't. He's on a real high. You can't lose that. You have to take it back, because even though despite that bad season, Napoli have been a contender for over a decade.
Sure.
And with one season, it's the end of the world all of a sudden. All of a sudden, we're tanking. All of a sudden, it was a fluke. All of us, like, hold on. We've been working hard for this for a long time. It's way overdue. Any pundit will tell you that Napoli was overdue, especially in this ADL tenure. And we finally got it. And we let it go. And then we got it back again. And then after that one little thing, after that bagna de humildad, we go ahead and sign a serious coach, which was vital to do all this because what happened last year did not have a leader. We did not have a great manager. The team was in disarray. Nobody knew their roles. It was just so much so that everybody wanted to jump ship, and a lot of people did. We lost Cavada midseason, even though Conte tried his best to hang on. We lost Osimhen in the beginning of the season. The Capo Caniniero, the MVP's gone. We lost a lot of depth. Conte having to convince everybody to stay and to buy into the project was a big deal. The next step was that, to buy into a project, to implement new discipline and new hope, to keep the guys we already had, to push the guys we were going to get, and to create a unit and to go out there and basically try their best. And they did that. Now, one can say lots of things about the performance of the other team. I mean, we saw what happened with Milan. We had Inter, who was just super busy all year, and maybe they just didn't have as much intensity, game in and game out. But at the end of the day, Napoli did what they had to do, and they're champions for it. And I think it's great it came down to the last season because, look, 1 and 2 came down to the last game of the season, right? Champions League spots came down to the last season. Relegation spots came down to the last game of the season. I mean, what an exciting time for Serie A. I mean, what an exciting match day 38. I mean, so many emotions throughout the whole peninsula. And to top it all off with a 4th Scudetto from Napoli after being beaten up all summer long in 2024 because of what happened, after nobody giving them any hope. They come back and they throw it back, and that's why they're here to stay now. And I think we just like we fell down to Serie E, imagine that. Serie C and bouncing back up to be Scudetto winners. Again, we kind of fall from grace a little bit and just bounce back up, and it just shows resiliency. And that's where we're going to need to create dynasties. That's where we're going to need to create a great squad, a great organization, a great society. Is that resiliency?
Right.
But I wonder, Rafa, does Napoli still win it? Let's humor everybody. Does Napoli still win it if Inter doesn't go as far?
It's a good question to ask. If they don't go that far, do we still win the Scudetto? Do we still stay in it? I think there's a yes and a no.
Mm-hmm.
The no of it would be, obviously, Inter on paper were a better squad and a little bit deeper. And so if Inter don't make it past Bayern Munich or Barcelona, let's put it this way. If the first leg of the semifinal wasn't a 3-3 draw, then maybe we don't win the Scudetto. Like, because Inter were in that tie the entire time. Like, they only didn't lead in that tie, the 2-legged affair, for like 6 minutes. So in my opinion, there's a good argument to be made that Inter stay, Inter win the Scudetto, or it's a little more of a gap between us and them if they're not as busy as they were, like you said.
Yeah.
However, there's also the fact that they didn't do a lot in the transfer market to get themselves better.
Okay.
They thought they did in Taremi, right? And Taremi was a complete bust. Arnautovic being on the squad was a detriment. Correa is useless. You had a slow season from Lautaro, and Thuram is probably their best attacker. But in the midfield, which is very old, aging midfield with Darmian and, who else is Mkhitaryan and Shalanoglu, they got older by getting Zielinski. They picked up Zielinski in the January, which was a good move, but they got older, and I don't know. Like we saw the Zelensky from last season on our team. Nothing against him. I'll always be grateful for him. I'll always be a fan of his. But there was a steady decline there.
Yeah, just ever
So
since COVID, we
right,
discussed it a
and
whole lot.
honestly, ever
How
since COVID, yeah. I mean, he wasn't.
like how
He
much little
wasn't.
by little those lungs were given out. I don't
And
know.
I'll tell you what, it's not like he lit up the Scudetto season either. He was important for sure, but I wouldn't say he was our best midfielder even.
No.
So there's that. The defense is just so old. Like, I mean, DeVry, who else am I missing? Pavard. I mean, they had a lot of bright spots. Jans, Summer is amazing behind the pipes, but to be honest with you, Ralph, there's a good argument to be made that maybe Napoli still contend. I mean, you had all the additions that we made, plus it's Antonio Conte, who's gonna fight you tooth and nail anyway. He's a serial winner, so it's not like he's gonna just lie down. You know what I mean? So I can see I can see an argument for both sides. If I had to pick, I'd say, yeah, I mean, if we don't win this Scudetto, we're still close. We're still close, in my opinion. So I'll leave it with that. I mean, what do you feel? How do you feel about it?
I'm gonna piggyback off you a little bit, Rafa, because it's something that we spoke about prior on the Napoli Rant here, and I think it's tough to say because maybe I'm not sure if the whole league overall was doing excellent. You saw Roma with some issues. Juve were up and down a bit. Atalanta were up and down a bit. Obviously, Milan not having a great season at all, basically finishing mid-table. We saw a lot of the mid-table teams really fighting tooth and nail, like teams like Como, teams like Lecce and things.
Genoa pulled up a good fight too.
Sure, it's a lot tougher on these teams now. It's not as easy. It's not just roll over and die Serie A anymore. It's like there's teams who fight. They may not be fighting for Scudettos, but they're fighting for their respect, and they're going to want to show up against the big teams, and they're going to want to succeed as much as possible, or be the upsetter.
Right. Look at Venezia. Venezia. Do me a favor and go check Venezia's results against the big teams. And you'll see draw against Juve, draw against Atalanta, draw against Lazio, draw against us, draw against Parma, I think they drew Inter. I think they might have beaten Milan. It's one of the
the points add up. Those points lost add up.
Yet they got relegated. So you never know what you're gonna look at Lecce. Look at Lazio, Lecce. Lazio was match day 38. Lazio are home. They need at least a point to get into Europe. They can't beat Lecce, but Lecce was fighting for their survival. They're fighting for the honor of the death of their team doctor that just died about a month earlier. They're fighting for their lives away at the Olimpico, and they come out with a 1-0 win that knocks Lazio completely out of Europe. They were in the Champions League 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When they came back and drew against Inter, which helped us out in match day 37 with the 2 Pedro goals. By the way, Pedro is now a patron saint in Naples.
Yeah.
Not for nothing. That's the truth. It is Pedro and Orsolini mania in Naples, bro.
It's crazy.
It is.
It's
crazy. But we went into match day 38. Lazio were a strong favorite to make the Champions League, and they didn't even make it to Europe. Unbelievably. They didn't even make it to Europe. Freaking Bologna, as good as they've been all season long, finished in 9th place. They ended up finishing in 9th, dude. They get to Europa League by winning Coppa Italia. Congrats to them, by the way.
Yeah.
It has been one of the most unbelievable Serie A seasons I've seen in a long time, and that's not just because Napoli came away with the Scudetto. I would say the same thing if it were the other way around, man.
Doesn't really matter what happened.
Yeah, it
to
doesn't,
be honest, it doesn't really
matter.
fucking matter. All right, history is defined by the winners. All right, but Rafa, let's get back into Napoli because, like, you know, we had lots of new additions to the team. We had people who stayed. You know, it took a lot of work for Conte to get these guys to gel, and they did. You know, we saw a lot of enthusiasm between everybody. But before I'm changing the order slightly. Before we get into the beast of the season, because I kind of want to save that as the big treat here.
Okay,
let's get into a couple other ratings here. I guess we'll call this segment over under. Let's discuss, you know, a player that was overrated, maybe, Rafa. An overrated player.
An overrated player for our season this year. So we're
because you had mentioned this. Yeah, we mentioned this backstage, and you said you had one. And you weren't going to tell me. Like, I'll tell you on the show. I'm like, all right, let's. So my reaction here is authentic, fellas and bellas. All right, I want you to know because I have no idea what he's going to say. I was even surprised that he had one, to be honest, because I don't have one.
I'm surprised you didn't guess it.
No,
you have no idea who I'm about
I have
to say.
no idea, bro. I can't. I can maybe guess, but I honestly, I didn't even think Raffa Rispo would.
Right?
I didn't even know that Raffa Rispo can consider somebody overrated on this team. So please enlighten us. Let's tell everybody here. Let's get the big reveal to Raffa Rispo's most overrated Napoli player this season, Rafa.
One Kovica Kvaratskhelia.
Oh, dropping bombs.
Dropping bombs.
My.
I can't believe you didn't see that coming.
You know what? You know what it was? I just didn't qualify him because he only played half a season. It was kind of like
he played an entire half a season.
Fine.
And he scored goals and had assists. And he had important goals and assists. I just feel like even if he was on the team, and it's easy to say this now because he left, but I guarantee you, if he stuck with it the whole season, he would have been more and more underwhelming as the season went on. Because he had a few statistics. He had, 5 goals and like 3 assists by the time he was gone.
All right.
Right? But it was not overwhelming. It was underwhelming. You know what I mean? It was
all right.
To me, his performances were just underwhelming. It's like when Lukaku was off, he was super underwhelming. But when he was on, he won us matches. He got us assists, double-digit goals and assists. Now, would Kvara had gotten to that? I don't know. I don't know if he would have, because he was just so checked out from the beginning of the season.
Right.
I mean, and he did score a few important goals. He scored the goal against Milan, which was very important.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But to be quite honest with you, and I know it's not the only goal he scored, but that's the only one that's standing out to me right now. You know, I think he did have a 1-0 winner, but to be 100% honest with you, his head was never in it this season. So for me, and we saw it as it was happening. We saw it, Ralph, the way he'd come off, the way he would just walk around, the way he'd fumble passes, the way he'd take erratic shots, the way his attitude, his demeanor, it just was so underwhelming and overrated. When he left, everybody just looked at the name who left in January and didn't really put into perspective, like most Napoli fans, not all, because some were still really caught up on Kvara leaving in January. The bottom line is that even if Kvara had stayed on Napoli, I don't think he would have been as impactful as people think he was, that people think he would have been. Like, most Napoli fans were so caught up on Kvara leaving, the name Kvaratskhelia leaving in January for that much money to PSG. Oh my God, what are Napoli doing? Are they crazy? Oh my God, they're not signing a replacement. Oh my God, oh my God. And nobody really looked at the fact that when Kvara left, Napoli were playing the best football they played all season long when Kvara was off the pitch. And finally, when he left, until February, obviously, when we kind of crumbled. But that's when everybody was saying, oh, we need Kvara. Oh, we should get a replacement. Oh, we this and that. But before that, when Kvara came off, Napoli were on fire. Neres came in and scored goals and assisted right away. It was, it was okay. So for me, Kvara was overrated and had to leave. I'm not doubting his ability, and I'm not doubting what he did for us was great, for sure. But when I think of overrated player for the season, because if you're going to do an underrated player, you should do an overrated player. It was him. And I'm not saying we don't win the Scudetto with him on the team, but I'm saying we may not win the Scudetto with him on the team. Like, it opened the door for Conte to explore other areas too. You know what I mean? It opened the door for Conte to have to tinker and manage the team, which he does better than anybody else.
Right. So, he had to find a new solution for this team.
Yeah.
To get the results. Right.
Yeah.
But I think, Rafa, to play devil's advocate, his heart was just not into it anymore. Remember, this is a guy who in his first season was our MVP. They called him Cavaradona. Even Patrick Kendrick, I had responded to something on Twitter calling him an underappreciated player throughout Italy. And, they're calling him a one-hit wonder. I just think Cavada's heart was not in it anymore. Clearly he's not a one-hit wonder, Ralph, because he leaves us to go to PSG, and right away, PSG are European Championship material. Right.
Like, that's not an accident. He got to PSG. He got paid. He's happy. He had the coach he wanted. He had the players he wanted to be near, and he had the environment he wanted to be in. And he's now a European champion. He scored a goal in the Champions League final against Inter. And I'll tell you what, kudos to him, respect to him, congrats to him. He deserves it. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. He deserves it. Did the way he leave, was it shitty? Sure. Did we leave a sour taste in our mouths? Of course. But it was necessary, Ralph. It was necessary, because when you have someone in the locker room that's dragging everybody else down, I realize that we were in first place when he left. I realize it. But I also realized that, how much longer do we have to put up with the Kvara mess? Mm-hmm. And is it going to affect us longer term? Honestly, it was the best thing that needed to happen this season. For everybody involved. Napoli, PSG, and ADL. So, avanti così, and not picking up another player. Not picking up another player for him was the absolute correct decision. And I said it from the beginning, Ralph. I said it from the very beginning when everyone was saying, Napoli didn't replace him. He should have replaced him. Ralph, we won the Scudetto without replacing him. And now we have 75 million extra euro to spend after we won the Scudetto. Like, come on. It's the most no-brainer decision that we made all season.
It opens up a lot of options for us now. We're not stuck with something that we did in January. We wasted a lot of money for it. We had the Garnacho deal on the table and all that. So, I guess, help us segue into the next question as to who's the most underrated player of the squad, Rafa. And I'd like to take the charge here because I'm feeling passionate about this, because even after we won the Scudetto, some people try to knock him, and I just didn't understand it. And for me, that player was Amir Rahmani this season, Rafa. Most underrated, maybe one can even say most underappreciated player of the season. You know, we're talking about, and I remember it was like one of my favorite comments that Patrick did on the live. He was like, Rahmani has been that one consistent for this team. I think he started every game, and I think he played almost every minute, aside from when he picked up a little knock or something and he was substituted. He had to remain consistent. He had to be there. You know, with Buongiorno going down, with you know, I have my opinion on Juan Jesus. He's a formidable backup. I think he's good as a depth player, but you know, I don't think he's a number 2. With all that, and considering the nature of the team and how it went, Rahmani stood on his head this year for us, and he helped a lot. He had a lot of long balls to Lukaku. We saw that. He set up a lot of goals.
He bagged a couple.
He was a pest in the box on our corner kicks. He was, you know, he'd had that one mistake from the own goal or whatever, fine. But we all know that Rahmani, we allot him the one mistake every season. But other than that, he was rock solid. No pun intended. Rahmani, most underrated player, and put some respect on his name, because this guy was as good as can be, and we have one of the best defenses in the league, and a guy that played every game, center back. Well, guess what? He deserves his recognition. I'm glad he's on this team, and I was happy with his performance all season, to be honest.
You know,
I like him as a player.
Serie A gave the defender of the season to Barella, which, I mean, I don't know. I rate Barella, don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic defender, and, you know, probably would have deserved it if Rahmani wasn't so great. If Napoli's defense wasn't so imposing and powerful and
the catalyst almost to this win,
yes,
you know, like,
you know, and part of me thinks that they had to throw a few Interisti in this. I'm not trying to say there's collusion, but to give the defender of the season to Barella and not Rahmani is, to me, is a sin, if you ask me. It's underappreciating, like you said, what his contribution to this team was. It's underrating him, and I agree with you there when it comes to the most underrated player. I also may have given a nod to 2 other players in Meret and in Oliveira.
Okay.
Oliveira had big shoes to fill in taking Mario Ruiz's consistent starting place, which he did for most of the season last season. And he came in and he really, really rocked that left side. And I'll tell you what, I have never felt more secure in the left since Mario Rui. But, you know, and Meret was fantastic this season. But I'm going to go with you there. Rahmani wins that for me, because it's just, like you said, a testament to him being our Iron Man this season. Like 2 years ago it was Di Lorenzo, you know, and now this year it's Rahmani, 100%.
There you go. Amir Rahmani. Most underrated, underappreciated, while Rispo's take of Tabata, the most overrated.
I'm sorry, Ralphie. While we're at it, I think you need to throw Politano's name in there too.
I was just going to throw out Politano real quick. I thought you were going to say it, actually. I thought that was going to be one of your answers.
Completely.
I hear you on Meret. I hear you on Meret. I like that pick, but I would have probably thought Politano over Oliveira. Because
I think I'm gonna go Politano over Meret and Oliveira.
Yeah, because I don't think. I mean, again, I'll make the case for Meret. I just don't feel like Oliveira was an underrated player. I think people appreciated him. I think they were a big fan of him there. I think they were happy with him there. but solely for that reason. But yeah, guys like Meret, Politano, Rachmani, guys who always catch abuse, really, they were a part of this without a doubt. And Politano's defensive form and what he did, I mean, the guy passing out on the field, I mean, one can say, his contributions on offense aren't our favorite, and sometimes he, punts the ball over the net, fair enough.
And he didn't put up huge numbers this year.
He didn't, but he was so instrumental to this defense, which won us the championship, that I think it does go slightly underrated. And he really gave everything. You can't ask for more, really, from someone, at least as far as playing with your heart and doing what you're asked of. So yeah, Politano's a good shout. But key players to the team, Rafa, we did add players this season. So I'd like to pick your brain as, who was like the rookie of the year, I guess. Who in the sense that,
I like that.
The rookie of the year, the new signing on this team, or the new arrival, who was the most important one? Now I'll name them so we remind everybody at home. We had Lukaku, we had McTominay, Gilmore, Buongiorno, Bagneres, Billing, Spinazzola, and of course, Conte.
Well, I mean, Conte is the easy answer. Conte is the maestro pulling all the strings. But as far as a player goes, I really think that I might have to go with Lukaku on this one.
All right. Makes sense.
Okay, and there's a reason for that too, because losing a top striker in Osimhen is never easy, and replacing him with someone who's about, I'd say, maybe 8 years older, much slower, and a different type of player, but garnering more respect, I think. And not that Osimhen wasn't a smart player, because he really was, and he really is, and he's very unselfish, and he can be a delight to a team.
I love Victor.
But and I always will. But Lukaku, on the pitch anyway. But Lukaku is the experience we needed. I really feel like, because you have Buongiorno, who's a young defender, but, not too young. You had Spinazzola come in, and he's very experienced, European champion with Italy, played with Roma to like the Champions League final or semifinal, is experienced enough in his own right, has the age. McTominay with United coming in, a little older, a little wiser, can play in like the best league in the world, quote unquote. So bringing his talents to here. But I really, and then, you have Neres who has done it with Ajax, and then comes in and, is another like, flash of light like Kvara was in the first season. But I got to tell you, man, Lukaku for me was the signing that we needed, I think, to get over the hump. It's no accident, in my opinion, that once Lukaku started playing on this team, opportunities became more plentiful, and we won games. And it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't like explosive like Kvara and Osimhen. It wasn't. But and remember, it took a little bit of time for Kvara and Lukaku to link up. They ended up doing fine until Kvara was just checked out. And then, Neres and Lukaku were really good linking up. McTominay and Lukaku. Lukaku had double-digit goals and assists. The only other player to do that was Mo Salah with Liverpool, who also won the title. So I think not just filling the role of Osimhen, that Osimhen left the void, but also adding, the know-how to play in Conte style, but also the leadership in the locker room. He comes in speaking Italian already, speaking English, speaking Spanish, speaking French. The guy knows 6 languages, so he can speak to everyone in the locker room. It's not like he can't have a conversation. I think it's humongous.
Still Lukaku. What a run this is from Romelu Lukaku! And surely that does it now. Once a star of a Scudetto winning side under Conte and Inter, but now he does it in Naples.
His contribution is I wouldn't say he's an underrated player, but his contributions to this team were highly underrated. So for me, that makes Lukaku the most important signing as a player, outside of obviously McTominay becoming what McTominay was. But overall for the season, for me, I think it was Lukaku.
My short answer, and I love the Lukaku answer because I agree with you on all fronts. And obviously, what we saw from McTominay. But, for me, it was Conte. And I don't know if you remember maybe a few seasons back, I was like, Rafa, an important piece that Napoli was missing was a striker. And then we got Victor Osimhen, and then we saw him gradually improve over a couple seasons, and then ultimately become the capocannoniere lifting up the Scudetto. I said, once we get that piece, Napoli is going to be all right, because we were having issues with Malik and Mertens falling off and all these things. And I was like, we need this dedicated number 9, and we got it. And look, we ended up winning the Scudetto. I'm picking Conte this year because that was a piece that was missing. I mean, we could have got any striker and did whatever, but Conte coming in, and again, I put a question mark on him. Remember #question mark? And
you did.
Conte, and people were mad at me. But listen, understand where I was coming from. It was not that I was doubting his ability, but in the middle of the season, I mean, we're going through a crucial moment, and all you hear about, well, Conte's going to leave. Conte's going to leave. And it really, really upset me. And maybe I was falling gullible or something to the journals. I try not to really listen to things like that, but it turned out to be a trending conversation, and I hated it. And I said, if this is who Conte is going to be, if he's going to be a guy like, you know what, you're not good enough, and I'm going to leave, then you know what, I don't want you. And then we started seeing a drop-off, and it all kind of happened at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it was planned. I'm not trying to create a conspiracy theory, but it was just all too much of a coincidence that I was super paranoid. I'm like, because I know what we needed was a coach. That was, to me, the most important signing because it's something that we lacked last season. We saw the disaster with the revolving door of managers last season. The team couldn't find its footing. The team couldn't create its consistency. We saw that this season, and look what happened. It literally led us to win the championship.
Yeah.
Not good, bad, or ugly, I don't care. The end result was what we wanted, which is Napoli as champions. And whether we sign Lukaku, McTominay, whoever, it was Conte that had to put those pieces together. So I'm going from #Conte question mark to #Conte exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Stay with this team. Build it up. Go get something that maybe you haven't gotten before, because you will be forever immortalized. You were already a great coach.
But wait, there's more.
You're going to transcend to new levels, especially if you go. You don't even need to win Champions League. You can just go to the semifinals, and you'll already be considered a winner with this.
Are you crazy?
So
are you out of your
I
mind?
think that was the missing link here. And I take back what I said, and it's only because he proved himself, and I don't care. Because if we're sola la maglia, then hey, we have to make some tough takes. We have to make some hard decisions, and we're gonna have to give some tough love, because that's what Napoli is.
Shit.
You know, it's
Here
love.
we go again.
Tons of it, but it's tough love. You got to prove yourself. You got to show where your heart is. And I wanted to make sure Conte's heart was in the right place. And if he stays and he gets ADL to do what he does, and he gets something out, even if he just wins another Scudetto, 2 in a row, it's already a huge deal. This is what will lead us to the dynasty that I keep talking about.
Yeah, that's still very much possible.
It's a seedling that sprouted, you know, but it's got to be watered correctly. It's got to be taken. It needs the right sunshine. It needs the right soil. And then we can see it blossom into this beautiful creation. And that's what I'm hoping for. And that's what I'm hoping Conte, the legacy that he'll leave behind, hopefully, is going to be something like that. But
let me ask you before we move on to what we know we're going to get to. One word, name one player most improved from last season.
Most improved has to be Zambo Anguissa.
Yeah.
Despite the little bit of the fizzling out, which, to be honest, I'm kind of used to with him. He always seems to come out real strong, fizzle out towards the end. He'll snag, especially if he snags an injury. That happened. We saw that a couple times.
Yeah. He was almost unwatchable last season.
Yeah. The beginning of this season, we thought, he's certainly one beast of, at very least, the first half of this season.
Right.
Without a doubt. I mean, his goal contributions, his prowess, his ability to move forward. He did a lot. He moved forward with a lot more confidence. He wanted that goal. He was hungry when he would, point to his wrist with the kid's name on there. He was he had his heart into it, and you can really see it. He was a completely different player.
Yeah.
And he was, without a doubt, to me, the most improved player on this team.
I'm going to go with it. And finally, the most consistent player of the season.
Most consistent, who was also on last year's team,
so let's go with who's been the most consistent throughout this entire run. Like, Scudetto, last season, this season, somebody who just performs all the time. And it's an easy one for me.
I'm going to guess Giovanni Di Lorenzo, Rafa.
No, I'm going to go Lobotka. Yeah.
That's a good one. I might think.
Not that Di Lorenzo hasn't been consistent, but I really believe that Lobotka was just as good this season as he was last season, as he was the Scudetto season, as he was the season before that. Like, in my opinion, I think Lobotka has been the most consistent player Napoli's seen in maybe since Koulibaly.
Okay. I think there's a lot of people who will agree with you, Rafa. I'd pick Di Lorenzo simply because, he's a player that plays all the time. And he's the captain of the team. And seeing him in the beginning of the season, like you said in the beginning of the episode, him almost exiting this team, but then staying and still hitting the levels that we know he can hit.
Right.
I'll pick him for that. But Lobotka, and we met him, and he's a gentleman.
He was.
And it was the best part of the trip. Well, one of the best part of the trips, at least. And I'll certainly never forget that moment. Lobotka has certainly 100% been a consistent player and a key figure to all of our victories and all of our successes. So kudos.
And I'm going to change the last question from what I originally had was, when did you know we won the Scudetto? Because I think off the air you said, with 5 minutes left in the last game.
Yeah, that's honestly when I knew it.
Trust me, the Maradona was the same way, Ralph. We did not sing a Campione song until it was like
I heard.
82nd, 83rd minute, and then the 4 rolls down from Curva, and it was just so beautiful. That was so the 4 coming down with the Italian flag smoke, also the tifo from Curva B with the Scunizzi, with the Napoli Scunizzi stealing the badge from the Inter Scunizzi's shirt, and oh, it was so beautiful, so beautiful. I'm gonna change it from when did you feel we won the Scudetto to what you think the turning point of the season was. What was the turning point of the season, Ralph?
Oh boy. Oh,
This
the
is your
turning point.
opinion. Your opinion. It's not. It's. I don't want you to try to guess what I'm thinking.
No, that was no.
But
I'm thinking hard about this one. It's a
yeah,
great
because I
question.
think I have one. I think I have a moment,
I'll
but
let
I'll
you
let
start.
you.
Do you want to
You want
start?
me to
I
start?
need it because I
Okay.
need a minute to think about it. Maybe you can inspire me with your take, but
Okay. So
I
for
promise I
me,
won't
there's
copy it. But
no.
I
That's okay.
because there's a
For
couple
me,
in my mind. I want to like kind of nail down which one I really want to
well,
choose.
for
But
me,
go on.
there's two. For me, there's two. And one is a Napoli moment, and the other is actually didn't happen at the Maradona or involve Napoli.
Mm-hmm.
The Napoli moment was when Billing scored against Inter.
Still going, Lobotka. Here's Billing! And there he is again! The unlikely hero, Philip Billing. But in the nick of time, Billing scores a huge goal in the title race.
To me, that was a major turning point in the season
Okay.
because the feeling in the Maradona, even though we beat the shit out of Inter all game, even though Di Marco scored that amazing free kick, but then did nothing the rest of the game, even though we were staring defeat in the face, Billing coming through to score that goal, actually getting his own rebound from the keeper and scoring the goal, for me was so important for the season. It made Napoli believe, hey, this isn't over by a long shot because we could have been down 4 points and instead we remained one back. And to win the Scudetto by 1 point, that's a big, big, big moment. That's a big moment. But the other moment that I have in my mind was Orsolini's goal for Bologna against Inter. Because I'm telling you, Ralph, the way I felt watching that ball go in Easter Sunday morning
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that Inter just lost and we have a chance to tie them in the season, which we eventually did the next day, for me was exactly what Napoli needed to say, we really got this in the bag. Like this is now in our hands. And I think that was a bigger moment for Napoli than Billing's goal against Inter. So I'm going to actually go Orsolini's game winner against Inter was the turning point of the season for Napoli.
Interesting. I like the take, and again, it kind of speaks highly of the luck that we experienced this season, which was definitely on our side, which is
Right.
definitely something that you needed. But you create your own luck, and you'll reap the benefits for it. So maybe we didn't
Because
really
that's what you
create
get.
that win
Because
technically, but I mean, but in a sense, though,
yeah, you're right. But Ralph, think about this, right?
maybe I'm wrong saying that, but
In the past, how many times have Napoli had the opportunity to pounce or to advance or to take the lead or to this and they squander it, you know?
mm-hmm.
How many times has it happened? It's happened. It even happened this season a few times,
Well, Rafa,
right? Where Napoli failed to capitalize
right,
on an Inter mistake. It's happened
right.
a few times this season. But that was the moment for me where Napoli, I feel like they felt like, they went into that game the next day with their chests popping out, like they weren't never gonna lose that game.
Ra-
So yeah,
I
I'm
hear
gonna
you.
go with that.
Okay, Rafa, I got two also.
Okay,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
say one now, but I'm gonna save one for the beast of the match, for the beast of
Okay,
the season,
okay,
because it's a big deal. But my
Okay.
first turning point was when Raspadori started finding more time on the pitch.
I like that. I like that take a lot, actually.
Yeah. This was a guy I believed in. Again, I'll say it again. I said it before, but I always like to remind people when I was with Joe Fischetti and they asked us who was a key signing, and this is when we got Cavada and everybody was choosing. I said Raspadori was the key signing. I said that something is going to come out of this player, and he stuck around. He's still here, and he had trouble finding space on the field. But we all know the devastated winter that we experienced with injuries. We needed somebody to come in and step up. There was two players. One of them was the beast of the season. The other was Raspadori. And it wasn't like he made this huge impact, but it was impact enough to keep the team going. He had a smile on his face.
Mm-hmm.
He helped with passing. He helped with the assists. He scored some goals. He proved himself. And even with the Italian national team, you could see what
goal. Yeah,
performance
goal.
was there.
We're recording Tuesday night. Goal yesterday against Moldova.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To me, finally finding something for him to do and him succeeding was a turning point, because we were about to turn left really quick. And I had a bad feeling things were going to go bad, but by the grace of Raspadori, we stayed on track. We stayed forward. We stayed moving forward. And it kept leading to it helped with some consistency throughout the rest of the team. And I think it held our neck above water, Rafa, just enough to stay alive, to stay breathing. And I think that was a pivotal moment, is trusting our bench and trusting these other players. So I'm gonna go with that. But the second one I'm gonna save, because Raff, we're doing the long haul, but I think this is a Scudetto episode, so it's okay. But we got to talk about the beast of the season, and I want to know. And you know what? We didn't take any advice on this one.
No,
Rafa,
this was straight from us.
But if I have to guess, if we put out a survey, I'm sure they were going to pick the same.
I'm sure it's 10 out of 10.
So without further ado, let's go for it, guys. Beast of the season. E per Napoli, la bestia della stagione, con il numero 8, Scott McTominay.
Nick Fratamo.
Nick Fratamo, fellas and bellas. Beast of the season. I mean, he snatched this thing. And Greece was on a great trajectory starting from the season. But
yeah,
let me tell you, Rafa, this is where my second pick for a key moment. We go into a disaster march, right? Drop points. We didn't lose, but we dropped points, vital points, at a crucial moment where we can overtake Inter and have a comfy enough lead that, we drop points here and there. We're still a game and a half above them. And then things started looking dire. And then we drop down. And then, we're starting, the blood pressure rises. The nails are being bitten off. The hysteria is starting, man. Scott McTominay, towards the better half of the second half, let's say like 25% of the season left. And we spoke about this, I think, like 2 episodes ago, Rafa, right? My question to you was, did we need somebody to step up? And we did. And that person was Scott McTominay. Steps up, says, we're going to win this. I'm not going to let this one go. And 5 goals, 3 games, crucial wins, a game-winning goal on the last match day to win the Scudetto.
The way he scored it too.
Scored it
Will forever
be an image burned into the Neapolitan psyche.
Politano delivers. McTominay! Napoli's most valuable player. And if he is to be the MVP, then Scott McTominay has scored the most significant goal of the season. It's been agony. They've suffered, but they lead against Cagliari.
That half scissor kick will go down in history forever. And the way he did it, muscling out his defender, being pushed to the ground, jumping in the air after a little lob cross from Politano, scores. The way he fell onto the pitch after the final whistle and cried. I mean, the shunning that he experienced in England from Manchester United comes to this team and says, I want to win here. And he proved it.
There could be no doubt McTominay takes the MVP for the best player on the pitch, the best coach. Antonio Conte leading Napoli.
Beast.
It's just
absolute beast.
Absolute beast. Absolute beast. And it's not just because he was the MVP of Serie A. It's not just because he got game winners here and there. He was undeniably incredibly motivated to do well here at Napoli. And it's not only did he embrace the city, he embraced the culture, he embraced the language. He started learning some of the language. He had freaking Mazzocchi teaching him Napoletan, mind you, you know? And I think Gilmore coming over was also a big help, because now you got two guys that are kind of in the same boat, you know, young Scottish guys, you know, they can relate, you know, both coming from the Premier League, both, you know, setting a new sail, both very, very interested in the culture, but also just a genuine soul of a man who is out to play the best football he can. And you know, I have to be one to admit that I wasn't very excited about McTominay coming in, despite various friends of mine reaching out saying, you guys don't know what you got. I'm so mad at United, blah, blah, blah. It was such a pleasure to watch him play with all his determination and all his heart and all his soul. And that goal, Raff Bizzarro, I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. That goal made me waste my tears. Like, I shed a tear at full time with my dad, and coincidentally enough, I was sat next to Michele Borelli's brother. That was totally accidental, by the way. Funny story, how we got to meet, but I mean, it took all my tears. Like, I cried from when he scored that goal to about midway through halftime. No lie, Ralph. I could not stop the tears flowing down my face. At that point, we already knew it was 1-0 Inter. We're up. So I'm sitting there like completely dejected. I'm thinking to myself, we're going to lose this thing. This isn't going to happen. It's not happening. And then McTominay scores the goal of the season, in my opinion. And delirium set in all across the Maradona. And I'll never forget how I felt when he scored that goal. And the joy, the relief, the happiness, the sigh of relief, dude, was so incredible. And McTominay just embodies the will to win. He's perfect for Conte, because those two guys are addicted to winning. And now that they've won one Scudetto, could another be on the horizon? Could there be more coming? And a lot of what the transfer market is looking like
Mhm.
is indicating that yes, there's more to come, dude.
Oh
And
yeah,
McTominay being part of that,
makes
I
that much
couldn't be
better.
happy. I couldn't be happier. Such a brilliant second half of the season for McTominay. I mean, he was scoring goals all year. You know, we had praised that midfield quite a bit at the halfway part of the season,
Right.
but he was just, oh my God. I mean, how many goals at 0-0 did he score this season that we won from? Like
I
eight,
don't know,
nine?
Rafa. The guy was incredible, man. The guy is just his will was contagious, and
Yeah.
it showed. And again, I think I have to say, between what Raspadori did coming on and then McTominay towards the end of that season saves our season. I think without that, we're
Dude,
this is a whole different podcast.
seriously, do you remember when Neres got hurt? We were all like, that's it.
It's
Scudetto's
over.
done.
It's over.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, because on top of everything else that happened, now we lost Neres. Now this guy had to go to a 4-4-2. Conte played a 4-4-2 at the end of the season. Can you believe that? Antonio Conte has just made history by being the first manager to win a Scudetto with 3 different teams.
I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better.
The guy's got 5 Scudetti in 7 seasons in Serie A. And Napoli is another team that he did it with. But
Right.
also, this is the first team that he's used 3 different formations in a single season with.
Right.
You start with the 4-3-3, you go to the 3-5-2, and then you're forced to use a 4-4-2. And we won the Scudetto.
Napoli are the Serie A winners for 2024-25.
It's unbelievable, Ralph. Like, I didn't think of any of this until we're speaking now. This is why I'm just so like awestruck by this as we speak.
Well, we're probably going to get it. I want to save some of this because we're going to get into a lot of the transfers and what Conte is going to be doing, what we're able to do. I want to save this for the next episode because we're running deep here, and I'm going to put on some closing music for us to wrap up. So quick 2 minutes, Rafa, and we'll take a minute each for this last question while we close up. I just want to know what this Scudetto meant to you compared to 2 years ago. If you can give us a 60-second rundown, let's give it.
Napoli Don 60 seconds or
no, 60 seconds, legit,
American
legit.
60 seconds.
Or else I'm pressing minute. Off. I gotta go.
New York minute.
The New York minute, a real New York minute. Go ahead. What does this mean to you? Break it down for the fellas.
Ralph, to be there with my father. Now I was there 2 years ago. I was with you, the kids, my dad, Songa Napoli, Tri-State Napoli Club. That was special to me. To be at the trophy lift, the last game of the season, to celebrate 2 seasons ago, that was so special to me. And it was something that I thought was a once in a lifetime thing. And I took it in as if it was a once in a lifetime thing, because I'm thinking to myself, when am I going to get another opportunity to spend time in Italy with my dad to celebrate the Scudetto? Took a picture with the trophy, got into the Maradona, got to see the trophy lift, celebrated all week long. But Ralph, to be there for when we clinched the Scudetto, I mean, think about it this way too. My dad wasn't never at the Maradona, the San Paolo, when Napoli clinched the Scudetto. In 87, he was here with us. In 90, we were in the Bronx. And in 2023, we were at Songa Napoli. We were at the Maradona the day we won the Scudetto. To me, I don't know if anything can top that. Like, not even the first Scudetto in 33 years. To me, this was the dream everybody has when Napoli come back to Serie A. You know, to be at that stadium, to be around, to watch it the way it happened and the way it unfolded. You know, like I'm sure people in Udine in 23 were very excited. They jumped the pitch, they joined the celebration, and it was grandiose. But for it to come down to the final day, the way McTominay scored, the way Lukaku scored, the way we knew Inter were winning and we had to score a goal, but we did it anyway. It's a storybook that you could only write as a happy ending at the end of like a movie, you know? Like, but it happened in real life, Ralph. And to me, this will always be the number 4 will always be the most special Scudetto that I've ever witnessed in my life. And it's hard to top it moving forward. I think maybe only winning the Champions League would top it. And, you know, I've seen the World Cup, I've seen the European Cup, and I've seen 2 Scudetti. And this one was the most beautiful of all of it.
Love it. I love the story, and I love the fact that you were able to be there with your father. I think those are memories that
and friends
never go away.
And so many friends.
And without saying,
we were just missing you.
Oh, come on, don't make me feel bad. But I'm gonna end it with this, folks. You know what this meant compared to 2 years ago. You know, 2 years ago was the monkey off our back, wasn't it? You know, it was the monkey off our back for ADL. It was a validation for all the hard work, for the markets, for this, the ups and downs that we finally meant to it. For me, it's the beginning of something really great, for more to come. And that's what this meant to me compared to 2 years ago. It's the continuation of it all. And it's to see what more to come. And I'm really excited about that because, you know, sky's the limit now. And we need to take this momentum and we need to run with it and not stop. And we need to be smart as a club, as a society. So I'm hoping these results manifest that and we can see everything come together next season as well. So
love it.
That's what it was, guys. But long haul episode, folks. Thank you. If you're still here, thank you so much. It's been quite the season. It's been quite the journey with the Napoli Rant with Rafa and I. And, you know, we're honored and we're happy to be here and share all these moments with everybody because it's you know, the community just se gonfia la rete, you know, it's just the network swells. It just keeps getting bigger and better and I just it's been great. So I love the whole journey, to be honest. Rafa, great episode.
Well said. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for the season. We will be back to talk about transfers. We'll be back to talk about a lot of stuff.
Lots of hot topics.
Lots of hot topics.
Possibly a New Yorker playing for Napoli. We'll see.
Ooh.
But we're going to save all this, Rafa. We're going to save all this. But until then, folks, Forza Napoli sempre.
Campioni d'Italia.
Siamo
noi. Siamo noi. I campioni d'Italia.
Siamo noi.